is Patrick Roth, Senior Support Technician for One Business Solutions. The question that we ran into recently, the user was creating a smart list and he wanted to show all of the user tasks, filtered, unfiltered, didn't matter. He had that set up ready and the window worked like it wanted it to. But the question was, is there a way that I could open up the task from a Goto? And he wasn't able to make that work, and he wasn't sure how that would happen. And so I had to do a little investigation on it, and so I created a couple tasks for that. And so from there, when everybody asked me, hey, can you make a Goto for this or you make a Goto for that, what I usually always tell them to do is you want to always check out to see if there's a built-in Goto. The built-in Gotos that SmartList Builder uses either invoke the actual out-of-the-box Microsoft SmartList Gotos themselves, or we have some that are very similar that we did to add some functionality or whatever, but most of they mimic the ones that SmartList have, or there are the actual ones that SmartList use. So in this case, there is no task that I can think of in any SmartList anywhere that would open up the task window. And so to be clear, this is the window we're referring to. So in this case, if you have tasks, you can get them in the task list. You can open up the task window itself, and then you can click on it. And we want this to open up. So if I have a smart list that shows me my tasks, I want to open up this specific one. So if we don't have an out-of-the-box Goto that we can leverage, how can we do this? And so normally I tell my users, if there's not a way to do it, plan B is to create an open form Goto. And then so when we do that, what I tell the users to do is mimic how you do this from the UI. So if I was making a Goto, if there's an existing Goto for customers, so you wouldn't do it this way. But let's say if there wasn't, you would open up the card sales customer window. You would try to type into the customer number field perhaps, and then when we do that, Dynamics GP would just pull up the record, and that would be all we would need. But in this case, if we go back to this task window, there's no obvious way to do that. We don't have any place that we can enter it, and actually we're not even sure how this happens. And so to do that, we have to do some investigative work to see if we can figure out how GP does it. And then if you can figure out how GP does it, then possibly you can mimic this with the Open Form Goto. Now that's not always possible. Inquiry windows in GP come to mind, because in inquiry windows in GP, almost always the fields are disabled, and to protect you from and breaking things, if a field is disabled in Dynamics GP, then SmartList Builder will throw an error saying this field is not enabled or not visible, I believe. And so it won't let you do something that could break it. So it is possible that this might not be possible at all. But the first thing we need to do to start out is we need to be able to trace it from a Dynamics GP perspective. And if we open up your Dexini and follow the Microsoft KB that's in the blog post, if we add this script debugger equal true, it'll add a new debug menu. So once you add this and relaunch GP, it will add a new debug menu for you. I've already done this, and so here's my debug menu. So we want to log that. So we look debug, log scripts, close it, say okay, and note the path. If you got to find it again, we click this, it opened up the window. So now GP did what it did. And so we can use this debug menu. You don't have to go back to the home page, turn it back off again. And so if I either go out to it or I use this recent items, here's the script log. So this is me clicking that link. It's not obvious that that's what it is, but that's the first thing that happens. So we assume that's the case. And it calls the open a form task method. And it's passing in this 43 value, which we're not sure of. We don't know what it did. We can't see the actual source code. This isn't the source code. This is just a trace of the methods and procedures that are called. So in this case, this was the name of procedure, open a form, sy task. The task, sy task is the name of the dexterity form in GP. We know it must have opened up the window though, because the security script is executing. And so it must have opened up the sy task form. Here's the checking security stuff. This is SmartList Builder. Triggers on this, and it's more triggers on security. Here's initialization menu of the ribbon. Blah, blah, blah. More ribbon stuff. Finally, we get to the end of our script log, so we know we must be getting about done. And here's kind of what we see. So this is the form pre, which is usually named that. So this is the form itself. So there's a script on it that does something on the form pre. Here's the win pre, so it's the window script. So when the window is opening, the win pre script runs if there is any. And it doesn't have to be called this, but by default, Dexterity names the script that. So unless the user goes back and says, I don't want to call it create tasks win pre, then that's what it's going to be called. So this is doing something. In this case, it's looking at setting note buttons and hiding and stuff. So it's fine. But here is more like it. Now, from a common rule of thumb is most GP windows, and again, this is not 100%, probably not even 90%, but it's a pretty good rule of thumb that most windows will use an LTemp control number type of deal. And so the LTemp control number is usually a hidden field on a window, and it mimics the key fields of the window. So if we go back and think about that customer maintenance window that I opened, I had said the user would type into the customer number field, and that's true. But if we were going to use the lookup, or if we were using a Goto, one of the predefined ones, almost certainly there's an LTemp control number or LTemp customer number or something like that on the window. So in this case, this one's called LTemp control number. Now we don't see what it's being set to. Again, you don't see any of the code. You can't see anything that's not in a procedure. So this is actually a field chain script. You can see the CHD on it. That's what changes. So again, at defaults could be called anything. That's typical. If we look at the open up task, we see this again, this cryptic number 43.00, and we'll see if we can figure that out, what that might be. So this looks, after it does all this other stuff, it then runs this LTemp control number. And again, if we can figure that out, we should be good. And then past that, there's nothing else. Everything else that happens here is all handled within this. So this all is going to happen. So we don't have to do that. It does that. So we said, okay, let's figure that out. So if we go back to our, close this. So let's go back to our smart list. When we added the user task window to it, it defaulted in this key field. So this is the PK, this is the primary key, this record number on the smart list. And so we might suspect that that's what the value is. And so I've already saved this. So if I launch my smart list, and if we look, I had put that record number visible. Normally you probably wouldn't care. We wouldn't show this as a default. We just hide it because why would you care about that? But in this case, it was useful for us to be able to see that. So we see that indeed the record number of 43 did match what that open was. So that suggests that this is probably the value that we want. All right, so now the pieces I think are pretty much coming together about what we need to do. So let's close the smart list. Go back to SmartList Builder. So we want to make a Goto. Okay, so Goto, and so there's none yet. Again, there's no built-in ones. Open file doesn't make sense. Open website, none of these. Execute procedure maybe, but in this case, there's only 4 out-of-the-box execute procedures, and none of them are the tasks, so that's not it. So really the only thing you have from a plan B almost always, if you want to open up a GP form, if it's not a built-in one, you can be creating an open form Goto. So we're going to call it open task, Microsoft MXGP. The series is system, as we get for S defaulting. And then the name of the window that you see here is almost always the same as what's at the top of the window, which was in this case task. And nothing defaults. So what we want to do, we can possibly you want to run a macro, you know, move focus. We don't care about that. Set the value of the field. We don't have a macro. We could run a macro, but since we need to have a specific one, maybe. So I don't see that that's a possibility. So almost certainly we want to run a field and change script. The field that we were talking about and that we're thinking that probably is this LTemp control number field. And then from our user task table, we want to set this to our record number. And that's it. As far as we know, this is the only field. It could be doing other things. Again, we have no idea, but pretty good educated guess based on how the GP windows work. And then we set this script to run. So we're going to close it. We're going to save it. We're going to set the default task to open task. I don't believe it typically defaults, but mine did because I had set it previously and then deleted it. And now adding it back in again, so it must have kept that somewhere. So set my default Goto so I can double click on it. And then lastly, I'll save it. Slowly save it. Okay, if we relaunch SmartList, I want to change our, save our changes, and go to System, or GP tasks. And again, we see the same SmartList before. We had that before. And let's just see if we can open up our task number 1. Hey, look at that, it opens up. I can save it, double click on it, open up again. And if I wanted to, I can open up DynasAs. And that also worked. So I could change the task, I could change the date, I could complete it, I can do whatever I want because I have the task window. So it does look like our Goto works successfully. So what we've learned here is we've learned how to figure out using the script log, maybe how Dynamics GP opens a window. And in this case, we also discovered then how to formulate a user form, open form Goto to open up our task window. And this is the same approach you would use for any windows that there's not a built-in Goto for.